Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back working over here on the big monster cane mill project, and where we left off is we got the bottom bearings poured on this, and we need to continue on and get the top halves done, and that's going to be today's project. First thing we need to do is I need to do a little cleanup on these, and then I want to actually get the big roller, drop it down in here, and just make sure everything's lined up and looking like it should. Once that's done, we'll work on getting set up to actually pour the top bearing halves. So let's get in here and get going on it. So to start out with, we got a little bit of Babbitt that just kind of float over the top and it's above the top of the surface here. I need to get that off first. So I'm going to take a cold chisel and see if I can just kind of knock that off. This Babbitt is pretty soft. There we go. And I think what I'll do is take a file now and just kind of file this down where it's flush. I just usually use a rasp file. Let me knock this with a chisel though. This Babbitt is pretty soft. I usually just use a horseshoer's rasp and just file it down where it's flush with the top of the bearing halves. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. It's not quite as bad as this one was as far as having overflow, but I'll get it knocked back, and we'll get in here and start, see if we can scrape on these a little bit. All right, with the tops all cleaned off, next thing I want to do is I'm just going to come in here and lightly scrape these bearings. I'm not trying to really scrape them for contact at the moment. I'm just trying to get, there's a little bit of roughness like up here in these tops where it cooled, and I just want to kind of knock the high spots off here. Get a nice smooth bearing that we can hopefully just drop that shaft right down into. So that's what I'm after right now. I just want to just freshen them up just a little bit. I'm using a Babbitt scraper. These are designed for doing these Babbitt bearings, for doing these curved surface bearings. And depending on what kind of surface we get on this when we, or finish we get when we put it all together, we may have to scrape for contact. But right now I'm just trying to, like I said, just smooth it up a little bit. And they're actually in pretty decent shape already, so I don't have to do a whole lot of work to these. All right, I'm going to do this on both of these as well, and then we'll see if we can drop that shaft down in here. I think that looks fine for right now. I'll do the other one as well. All right, I got my big roller here, ready to go. We're going to lift it up, hopefully. Get the gantry centered over it. Here we go, going up. I'm using a 3-ton chain ball here to lift this up. This drum is nowhere close to that weight. I think when we weighed it, it was over 1,000 pounds, if I remember right. But we should have no problem with it. All right, let's get it up and get it over there. We can drop it in place. All right, I think we're ready to start lowering it back down now. I will note that I've gone to care here to make sure I got it positioned right. I had marked the ends of these drums so I knew which end goes on which side. So this is the direction it's going to go back together. I don't think it would matter that much for what we're doing right now, but might as well just do it right. Let's see. All right. We are down on both sides, and it appears to be lined up. I don't know that I got enough leverage to rotate that drum. But I can see it sitting all the way down to the bottom of the bearing on both sides. And it looks pretty good. All right, so we got it in here, and what I'm looking at is I'm looking to make sure it's sitting all the way down in the bottom there, and it is on both sides. Now, this drum is so heavy, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to rotate it by hand. I would really like to, but that may be asking too much. I don't know. I don't have any oil or anything in these bearings right now either. I'll tell you what I might do is I might lift them up, try to get some oil in there, and just see if we can spin these. I would really feel better if it rotated, but it's just got too much weight and too much friction right now. So let me pick it back up just a little bit, enough to get some oil in there, and we'll see if we can rotate these on those bearings. I'm just going to squirt some oil down in these. Just take my hand and just kind of spread it around. I'll do it on both sides. All right, now we're going to drop that back down in place. So this drum has got a lot of weight to it, and it just needs a little bit of inertia to get it moving, I think. And it's going to be hard to just start it from start. Now, when this thing is geared up to the flywheel, you got so much gear reduction going on in here that it won't have any problem spinning it up. I could probably, if I had all my gears in here, just turn the flywheel by hand, and there'd be enough mechanical advantage to do it. Right now, I just want to I'm going to put a pry bar in this little slot here. And again, I just want to see if it'll move, make sure it's going to start. I think once it starts moving, it should be fairly easy. So I'm just going to put this up in here, and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, I mean it's taking some pressure. Obviously, you got so much weight in there, but that is moving fairly easily, all things considered. So I'm happy with that. I would like to just spin it around completely if I can get enough leverage to do that. Yeah. Yeah, this is turning nice. I'm happy with this. I've rotated it a full revolution. And like I said, it's definitely taking some leverage to move it, but it's got leverage in the gearing. It's going to turn just fine. I think I'm ready to go ahead and pull this back out, and I'm satisfied with the alignment and everything on these bearings. And I think from here, we can get set up to pour the top bearings. So once again, I got my pouring mandrel in place here. I haven't clamped it all down yet. We're gonna have to get the top caps on and probably have to move these around a little bit to do that. But we're gonna be using the pouring mandrel again, just like we did before, to pour these against. Now, before we put the caps on, I need to do a couple things. First thing I need to do is get all that primer cleaned off on the inside again where the bearings are gonna be poured, so we have good adhesion. It has keys drilled in those just like we did in the bottom pieces. So again, no need to tin it because those keys will hold everything in place. I also need to make some gaskets to go in here. These are basically just spacers that go in between this. So as this wears, you can remove those spacers and tighten these Babbitt bearings up as the shaft, or as the Babbitt wears down. So I need to come up with some gasket material, I'm probably going to have to run down and get some because I don't think I've got enough to do these left over from what I've used in the past. So we'll get all that done. We'll get the bearing caps on and hopefully be ready to start pouring here. These are the bearing caps. I've just got them over here at the workbench, and again, I need to get these cleaned up on the inside. One thing I will note is that one of the sides on both of these has broken off. It used to have a lip on it that kind of caught it on there where it couldn't shift back and forth. Don't know what caused that. It was that way when I got it, and in the grand scheme of things, guys, I don't think it's going to make that much difference. It'd be nice to have that little added in there. You know, my only option would be probably to recast these, and these are pretty heavy castings. That would cost some money to have to do that. So I just don't think it's worth it. So we're just going to clean these up and go with them and use the originals. I need to make some shims to go between the bottom and the top piece here so that as this wears it can come out. So I'm going to cut that out of some gasket paper. But first I need to figure out the size. So it looks like it's about, let's just say 2 1/8 by 5 1/2. 2 1/8 by 5 1/2. I'm going to do 2 layers each, so I'm going to need 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. So 2 1/8 by 5 1/2. Let's go cut some. I just got some gasket paper here. This is some fairly thick stuff. I'm going to go ahead and cut me a strip here, 5 1/2. And we'll just cut that out right here. I need some 2 1/8. A little bit left over there on the end. I can use my square to cut these with. All right, now I need to punch a hole in these for the bolt to go through, and the hole needs to be, I think it's 1 1/4. Biggest punch I've got is a 1 inch, so we're just going to kind of punch this in here and then kind of enlarge it around it to make it work. So we'll just punch out the center part first, and then I'm just going to do 4 more. And we'll just kind of enlarge it out that way. All right, let's see if that fits. All right, we're going to put our bearing caps on now. These things are heavy. Oh, goodness. There we go. Let's see if we can get this other side on. This bearing cap did not get any lighter. Wow. All right. All right, let me get my spacers lined up. You need to get the tops of the bearing caps bolted down, and I think we'll be ready to pour these. I think we're ready to go ahead and start prepping here for pouring the Babbitt. I've got the caps back on, I got my clamps here. I need to get my damming material put on here, get some heat, preheat into these castings, and start getting my Babbitt melted over there. And I think we'll have this ready to roll here in just a little bit. So let me get going on that. These are all clamped together on the sides with the flanges. We got the bolts holding them down. Got the gaskets in there. I've already blackened the shaft. I didn't show that, but I did it off camera with the soot like we normally do. Just take the acetylene torch and put a little carbon on it for releasing. But yeah, I think we're ready. I think we're ready to do this. So let's get this ready to go. All right, I got my damming material here. This is again Beacon Mold Pack. Used to use a product called Babbitt years ago, but they quit making it. This is a pretty good substitute for it. It's basically, I've talked about it before, it's kind of like Play-Doh, but it's heat resistant. And basically what you do is you just come in here and you just kind of mold this in place everywhere you want to dam it up. And we're going to go all the way around this and make sure it's all dammed up so that that molten metal can't escape. If there's a little gap or hole in there, we don't want it to go anywhere. So this is just holding it in. So I'll just pack it on there all the way around, and we'll go around the top here too, get everything good and packed in there. Make sure there's no place for that metal to come out. No matter how tight you think you got it, you always want to put this on, because if there's a hole, it's going to find it. And if it starts leaking, all your Babbitt will pour out on the floor, and then you got to take it all apart and redo it. It's a big pain in the rear. So just better to just do it right from the beginning and always pack this stuff down. All right, I think we got that pretty well packed up all the way around. I don't think there's any place for any metal to come out. Get behind that clamp real good. I've already gotten behind those. All right, I got the other 3 sides to do. We'll get these all packed in, and then we'll come back and start getting the heat going. All right, it's time to start putting heat on this. I'm going to start by kind of heating this casting up and blowing some down the tube to get into that mandrel down in there to get it warmed up as well. But got everything dammed up. I got my Babbitt over there melting on the stoves. So it's just a matter now of getting some preheat in here. Again, like before, I want to get this to a couple of 100 degrees. It just seems to let the Babbitt flow a little bit better. It doesn't freeze up as quick, and just tends to work a lot better all the way around. So we'll get a little preheat in here, and we'll pour the Babbitt. The plan is a little hole down there in the bottom. We're just going to pour it right down in that. That's the oil hole. We'll drill that back out once we have the pour finished. But right now, that will be where we actually pour through. Got a little infrared gun here I'm shooting this with. Man, we're already about up to pouring temperature already. Here we go. I'm going to just pour that right down into the hole. And it's coughing and it's spluttering. This one ladle is probably not going to be enough. I'm going to try to very quickly go over and grab the other ladle. Do this as quickly as I can. It's probably not quick enough. I hear it getting up close to the top. There we go. Man, I barely had enough. All right, we'll let that cool down, and I'll be getting started on the next one. Here comes our first ladle. We'll get the second ladle. There we go. Well, I have let this stuff cool down now for several hours. Went and had lunch. I had some errands to run in town, and I actually had some work to do out in the yard. Anyway, it has cooled down, so we're going to go ahead and pull all this stuff apart. So I'm going to take all the clamps off, get all this damming material kind of put back up, and then we'll pull the caps off and see how things went. From the top side, it looks like it went well. So my biggest concern, I guess if I have a concern with this, is that we did have to pour it in kind of two sections. I'm hoping there was enough heat in there and enough mass that it just kind of melted back together and we don't have like two different castings inside there, but we'll see. So anyway, let me get all this done and we'll pull these caps off and we'll see the moment of truth. I will note that this damming material is reusable, so I will just put it back in the bucket and we'll use it again next time. Once you use it, sometimes some of this, like at the top, got a little bit burnt. This is actually still good, but after that happens a couple of times, you might have to throw a little bit of it out, but you can use it over and over and over again, which is nice. I can see on this bearing, may not be able to see it from that side, but I can see some Babbitt that kind of came out around over here. So if I hadn't had the damming material in here, you can see this right here where that kind of melted out and kind of adhered right there. But if that had not had that damming material in there, that would have been a hole and it would have been leaking everywhere. Yeah, I got some on this side as well, so definitely needed the damming material. We would have been in a mess without it. These studs are threaded 1 1/4 inch 7, so it's pretty big nut. I had to actually run a die down some of these to get the nuts to go on there good. They were a little bit tight to start with, but that one came off good. And we gotta break these loose now. That's moving a little bit. Yeah. Let's see if I can get a little leverage in here with the pry bar. I think that'll come off now. There we go. All right. Oh yeah, that bearing looks fine. I'll let you take a look at it, but you can kind of see where the two melts kind of came together, but no big deal. It's all solid. I think we got it loose now. All right, now I just got to get in there and manhandle it out. Did I mention that these bearing caps are heavy? All right. All right, let's take a look and see what we got. Overall, I'm real happy with how these turned out. Nice, smooth pour. Everything looks pretty good. I can see a little bit of a separation layer. I don't think it's fully separated, but you can kind of see where those areas kind of came together in there, but it seems like it's all melted together pretty good. I don't see like a big fold in there, which is a lot of times what you'll see when one side gets too cold. I think that it was hot enough and the other stuff was still molten enough that when we poured that hot stuff on it, it just kind of fused all together, which is what I wanted. So I'm happy there. The reason this one side was so hard to get off, if you look, there was a little gap in the top of the other bearing where it had shrunk, and the Babbitt actually worked its way down into that. So I kind of had to pull all that up. That's what we were having to separate out. It was no problem to do it. It just took a little prying on that one side. Same thing happened on this side, but not nearly as much as over here. This came off pretty easily. I'm probably going to have to remake these shims for the actual finished part, but that's no big deal at all. Those were pretty easy to make. But yeah, this is going to be just fine. So yeah, I think success on this. I need to figure out how much Babbitt we used. I'm guessing probably similar to the last one. The bottom halves took about 10 pounds total, about 5 pounds per bearing, and I'm thinking that's what we're going to be here too. I'll go calculate that up here in just a minute. So I weighed up my Babbitt, and what I basically did is I weighed up how much I had when I started, and then I weighed up how much I had when I'm done, how much was left over, and from that I can calculate how much Babbitt I used in each one of these pours. And we used about 10.5 pounds on the bottom halves. The tops actually had a little bit more in them, about 12.6 pounds. So yeah, that's a lot of Babbitt. This is by far the largest journal in here. The other ones are going to take a good bit, but they shouldn't take near as much as this. And we've still got Babbitt. We got the 4 more parts to do for the bottom rollers. They're only padded on one side though, so it's not on both sides. Because of the way that the pressure is on this, all the pressure's on one side, so they just have half bearings on those. And then we've also got to do there's 4 bearings over here, which will be the gearing that comes in to drive this, and that's got to have top and bottoms, but that's much smaller, so shouldn't use near as much over there either. But yeah, these are by far the biggest Babbitt pour I've ever done as far as pounds in a single pour. So it's a lot, but we got it done. And from here, we're going to wrap this video up just because I'm running out of time. But I need to get some shims made again. I need to kind of finish these out, do a little filing, get them down like they need to be. We need to cut oil grooves in these, and I need to put it all back together with the actual shaft and make sure everything's turning right. And we'll have to adjust our shims in here until we get the tension like we want it. But once that's done, we'll have the top ones done. From there, I think what I'm going to do is get the big gear mounted back over here, and then we're going to work on the Babbitt bearings for the drive system. The bottom bearings will probably be the last ones that I pour, just simply because they're going to be fairly easy. It's just, again, a half a bearing that we'll be doing on those. So those should be fairly easy to do. I say that, I probably curse myself, but should be fairly easy to do. So anyway, that's where we are now. Guys, hope you've enjoyed this. This is definitely some different kind of Babbitt bearings than what I've done in the past, but it seems like it's working. We'll know a lot better once we kind of get this thing bolted back up and get the shaft back in here, or get the drum back in here, and make sure everything's operating like it should, but I don't see no reason why it shouldn't. I think we've got a good pour on the top and bottom, and I think we're going to be good to go. So with that is going to be a wrap for the day, guys. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Really helps feed the algorithms over on YouTube. It helps my channel be discovered by other people, which I greatly appreciate. So yeah, take your time, hit that like button, and leave a comment. It really helps out. Also, big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon and PayPal. I got links for that down in the description. That's something you want to help out with. It really enables me to be able to take the time to shoot the video and do everything else that goes along with it, which takes a lot of extra time to do. And now that I am working in my shop full time and this is my job, you know, it's a little bit more important to me than it used to be because even though I'm retired from my full-time job, this is where I'm making my living now. So gotta keep the funding coming in here so we can keep making payments on the house and feeding my wife and I. So yeah, appreciate that as well. Again, links for that down in the description if you can help out. Really does help. And with that, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Again, as always, thanks for watching.